From the legendary Mustang to the powerful Torino, Ford's contributions in the 60s and 70s continue to echo today. Even now, Ford remains a dominant force across all automotive markets, staying true to its muscle car roots while pushing innovation in every corner of the industry. Number 12, 1969 to 1970, Ford Mustang Boss, 429. The 1969 and 1970, Ford Mustang Boss, 429. Now that's a muscle car legend. Powered by a massive 429 cubic inch V8, this beast is famous for its raw power and aggressive stance. It's got 375 horsepower, but it could push close to 500. The torque, a mind-blowing 450 pound-feet, enough to send it rocketing from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 6.5 seconds. It could finish a quarter mile in 14 seconds and reach a top speed of 128 miles per hour. So, let's be real. This car wasn't just built for show, it was meant to race. Ford made the Boss 429 specifically for NASCAR, but it wasn't just about meeting race requirements. To compete with the infamous Mopar Hemi engine, Ford needed a car that could hold its ground, and this was their answer. The engine, built off the Ford 385 big block V8, had huge exhaust ports that earned it the nickname shotgun engine. It was a full-blown race engine, and though it was legally rated at 375 horsepower, it could easily hit 500 when tuned right. But its rarity makes the Boss 429 even more special. Ford had to produce at least 500 road versions to meet NASCAR regulations. They delivered with 859 in 1969 and another 499 in 1970. That makes this version of the Mustang one of the rarest models around, and as you can imagine, it's highly sought after by collectors today. From its monster engine to its stylish fastback body, the Mustang Boss 429 isn't just a car, it's a legend on wheels. Number 11, 1965, Ford Mustang Shelby GT350. The 1965 Ford Mustang Shelby GT350, what a legend. This car is packed with power, boasting 310 horsepower and 329 pound-feet of torque. It can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 6.7 seconds and reach a top speed of 134 miles per hour. But these numbers don't tell the whole story. This Mustang is built for more than just speed. It's designed for performance, handling, and pure driving pleasure. Shelby turned the regular Mustang fastback into a road-ready race car. Underneath, it's a whole different animal. You have a stiff front suspension with a 1-inch anti-roll bar that's as tough as a railroad iron. Plus, the car has been fitted with massive Koni-adjustable shocks designed to handle high speeds quickly. And those big, low-profile Goodyear tires? They're semi-racing tires that can safely handle sustained speeds up to 130 miles per hour. This car wasn't just meant to go fast. It was made to stay in control. Stopping this powerhouse is no easy task, but the Shelby GT350 handles it with style. With Kelsey Hayes' 11-inch disc brakes in the front and oversized drum brakes in the back, this car can stop on a dime, although it does take a bit of leg muscle to press those brakes. Under the hood, the GT350 packs a special version of Ford's 289 cubic inch V8. Shelby added some performance-enhancing Cobra custom parts, boosting the engine's power to 306 horsepower. With welded tube headers, a high-riser intake manifold, and cast aluminum valve rocker covers, this engine is as impressive as it is powerful. All these features combine to make the Shelby GT350 not just another Mustang, it's one of the greatest muscle cars ever made. So, how do you enjoy this video? Let us know, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Number 10, 1971, Ford Mustang Boss, 351. The 1971 Ford Mustang Boss. 351 is a true muscle car legend, and it came at a time when the industry was about to change forever. With a powerful 330 horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque, from its 351 cubic inch V8, this Mustang could hit 60 miles per hour in just 6.6 seconds. It wasn't the absolute fastest, but it was only a split second behind the mighty 1971 Mustang Mach-E with its massive 429 Cobra jet engine. The Boss 351 was one of the last real muscle cars Ford made before the Clean Air Act of 1970 changed everything. only 1,806 Boss. 351 models were ever built, making it one of the rarest Mustangs Ford ever produced. After 1971, Ford never made another one, making this car even more special. Despite its rarity, the prices for this beauty are still under $100,000, so it's a relatively affordable piece of muscle car history. Now, let's talk about the looks. The 1971 Boss 351 wasn't just about power, but also a stunner. Its racing stripes and sloped rear end with a minor spoiler made it stand out from the crowd. When you drove this car, you didn't feel like a driver, but a boss. The bold styling and impressive performance made the Boss 351 one of the best-looking muscle cars Ford ever made, especially in the 70s after the golden age of the 60s. It wasn't just a car, it was a statement that you could still make your mark in a world where muscle cars were starting to fade away. The Boss 351 proved that Ford could still create a true powerhouse even in the face of change. Number 9, 1973 Ford Falcon XB GT. The 1973 Ford Falcon XB GT might not be the most exclusive or expensive car on the list, but it's got a story that makes it unforgettable. This car starred as the V8 Interceptor in the iconic Mad Max and Mad Max II: The Road Warrior movies. The crew spent about $35,000 preparing it for the film, but here's the best part. You can recreate this beast in real life. Now, your hands on the car, you'll need to start with a 1973 Ford Falcon XB GT, produced by Ford Australia from 1973 to 1976. If you want to be movie accurate, you'll want a 1973 hardtop. Under the hood, you'll find a 351 Cleveland V8 engine, the same one that powered the legendary 1971 Ford Mustang Boss 351. But since this car was made for Australian buyers, remember that the steering wheel is on the right side as Australians drive on the left. Additionally, only 1,952 XB GT sedans and 949 hardtops were made, so finding one is rare if it can fetch a reasonable price and you're willing to modify it to match the movie car entirely. The Falcon XB GT has a lot going for it beyond its movie fame. It's powered by a powerful 351 cubic inch V8 engine, producing 300 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. That's some serious power for its time. Plus, the car came with four-wheel disc brakes, an impressive upgrade that made it stand out in the muscle car world. With a speedometer reading up to 140 miles per hour and a tachometer hitting 7,000 RPM, the Falcon XB GT isn't just about looks, it was built to perform too. Ultimately, this car isn't just legendary because of its movie role. It's also one of the most iconic muscle cars of its time. Number 8, 1968 Ford Fairlane Torino 428. The 1968 Ford Fairlane Torino 428, also known as the Ford Torino GT, is one of those cars that might fly under the radar if you're not paying attention. But let me tell you, this is one serious sleeper. Under the hood, it packs a punch with the legendary 428 Cobra jet engine. Officially rated at 335 horsepower, it was probably closer to 415 horsepower in reality. An independent testing later found it was putting out about 365 horsepower and 452 pound-feet of torque. This was one hell of an engine for the time. Here's the truth. Ford only made about 660 cars with the 428 Cobra jet engine for 1968, making it incredibly rare. The engine was brought back in 1969, and they produced many more cars with it, but finding one with the original engine from 1968? That's a treasure. But there's more to love about this car. The 1968 Torino had a sleek design with a full-width grille, quad headlights, and smooth lines that ran from front to rear. The taillights were vertical, adding to the car's unique look. On the inside, the Fairlane Torino GT was all business with a sporty feel. Armrests, a horn ring, and chrome accents on the windshield and windows. Even the name Fairlane was elegantly scripted on the side of the rear fender. What makes the Torino GT stand out is how Ford took a budget-friendly car and turned it into something special. Ford's mid-year changes helped cut costs, but didn't cut the fun. And with a big engine under the hood, it turned heads while remaining surprisingly affordable for its performance. The 1968 Ford Fairlane Torino GT may not have been the flashiest, but it packed enough power to surprise anyone brave enough to take it on. Number 7, 1969 Ford Talladega. The 1969 Ford Talladega is a rare beast, built for one reason and one reason only: racing. Ford wanted to dominate the NASCAR tracks, and they knew they needed a car that could keep up with the competition. So they modified the Ford Torino Cobra, giving birth to the 1968 Ford Torino GT Talladega Special. The Talladega was built to move with a powerful 335 horsepower, 428 Cobra jet engine, 440 pound-feet of torque, and a 3-speed automatic transmission. Furthermore, Ford didn't just stop at the engine. They reworked the car's body for better aerodynamics, giving it a longer nose and sleeker lines. This wasn't just about looks. The changes made the car faster. The Talladega was so fast that it won the first 5 races of the 1969 season and kept winning, ultimately racking 11 wins in a row. It was an actual racing machine, and it looked the part too. But the fact is, Ford was required to make at least 500 of these cars for public sale to meet NASCAR's rules. But Ford went the extra mile and built 750, making it one of the rarest Ford vehicles. If you ever get your hands on one, you've got a real collector's piece. These cars are rarely sold privately, and when they do pop up, you can bet they'll be auctioned off for big money. On the performance side, the Talladega could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 6.6 seconds and had a top speed of 129 miles per hour. Despite its high speed, it didn't precisely sip fuel, with an average fuel economy of just 8.8 miles per gallon. But who's counting the miles when you're driving a car like this? It was built for speed, and speed it delivered. Number 6, 1962 till 1968, Ford Shelby Cobra. The Ford Shelby Cobra is one of those cars that is just about all coolness, with a curb weight of just 2,480 pounds and a choice of V8 engines. This British-style cruiser could move like the wind. Whether you go for the early models with a 260 cubic inch or 289 cubic inch V8, or the later versions with a more potent 427 cubic inch V8, you're getting one fast ride. These cars were so good, they often left their main competitor, the Chevy Corvette, in the dust. The Shelby Cobra didn't just look fast, it was fast. And even though about 1,000 of these little beasts were produced during its 6-year run, they're still sought after today. Finding an original Cobra is a rare treat, and if you do, expect to pay around $160,000, with some going for as much as $250,000. That price is no surprise when considering the car's racing pedigree and unmatched style. But here's the thing, those original cars are rare and expensive, and with age comes wear. The aluminum bodies can suffer from cracks and fatigue, especially in areas like the doors and catch. Cars exposed to salt, road salt or salt air, can also show signs of corrosion when aluminum meets steel. That's where replicas come in. Thanks to the loyal following of Cobra enthusiasts, you can find replica Cobras built using parts from third parties. So you don't have to break the bank for a taste of what it's like to own one. The Cobras came in 2 variations, the Leaf Spring, 289, and Coil Spring, 427 models. Both versions shared similar body parts, like windshields, hoods, and doors, but had some differences to account for tire size and body width. Whether you're looking for an original or a replica, this legendary car's power, history, and unique style make it an absolute icon. Number 5, 1964, Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt. The 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt was a different breed of muscle car. Under the hood, it had a 427 cubic inch V8 engine, pushing out 425 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. This beast could race a quarter mile in just 11.6 seconds. But let's be clear, this car wasn't built for comfort, but for speed. Ford removed the back seat, sound insulation, radio, and even the heater, all in the name of saving weight. The windows? They were made from plexiglass. This car wasn't about luxury, it was about performance. Well, Ford knew they were creating something extraordinary when they designed the Thunderbolt, so they didn't make many of them. Only around 100 were made. Half had automatic transmissions and the other half had manual. That's part of what makes it so rare. Finding one today, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. And if you do find one, expect to pay over $200,000 for it. Despite this, the Thunderbolt may not have had the flashy looks of some other muscle cars, but its subtle design tells the story of an era. Its long, classic sedan shape is instantly recognizable, especially with the raised hood, made to fit that high-rise engine. The front grille is simple and understated, and the front headlights have a unique feature, where the regular Fairlane has 2 headlights on each side. The Thunderbolt often has 1 light missing from either side, revealing its true race car roots. What makes the Thunderbolt special isn't just the performance, it's how it represented the racing world of its time. This car could leave many others in the dust, despite its unassuming looks. It's a piece of racing history, raw, powerful, and unapologetically built for one thing: speed. Number 4, 1970 Ford Torino King Cobra. The 1970 Ford Torino King Cobra is a car built for the track, though it never reached the streets. Powered by a massive 429 cubic inch V8 engine, it packed a punch with 370 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. This muscle machine could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.6 seconds and hit a top speed of 152 miles per hour. The car also had a 4-speed manual transmission and rear-wheel drive, with an average fuel economy of 10 miles per gallon. However, Ford's Torino King Cobra was created when car designers were obsessed with aerodynamics, and it shows. The car's curvy, sleek design stands out compared to other Ford muscle cars of that era. But here's the catch: this vehicle was never sold to the public. Despite its power and stunning designs, it was a prototype, and only 3 were ever made. Ford executives owned all of them. One sold for $453,000 at an auction in 2018. You won't find many of these driving around today, that's for sure. On top of that, the Torino King Cobra was built with one thing in mind: racing. Ford even included a back seat, a luxury compared to other race cars. But the truth is, the car's time was cut short. Changes in NASCAR rules and some internal shakeups at Ford made it hard for the King Cobra to survive. So, only 3 of these cars exist, making it one of the rarest and most sought-after Ford prototypes. So, it wasn't just about the power or the speed, it was about the legacy. The Torino King Cobra car makes you think, what could have been? It's a one-of-a-kind piece of Ford's history, built for racing glory that never quite had the chance to shine. Number 3, 1969 Mustang Mach-E. The 1969 Ford Mustang Mach-E was about power, style, and raw performance. It was equipped with a massive 428 Cobra Jet V8 engine that delivered 335 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque. This beast could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.7 seconds and hit a top speed of 115 miles per hour. With a 3-speed automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, it wasn't just fast, it was a thrill to drive. But here's the catch: the Mach-E wasn't just built for the track. While it had some serious performance under the hood, it kept all the comfort features, making it the perfect car for daily driving and weekend races. Its design was a mix of a dragster and a Trans Am sedan, with a bug catcher hood scoop that stood out. The scoop wasn't just for show. It worked, shaking and vibrating like the real thing during high-speed runs. Anyhow, its power matched the Mach-E's aggressive look. 428 Cobra Jet engine was designed to deliver serious torque right off the line, and it did just that. It wasn't the easiest engine to work with, but it was one of the loudest and most powerful muscle car engines of its time. Ford's Mach-E was a worthy contender, blending comfort and muscle in a way that made it stand out from the crowd. Number 2, 1968 Ford Torino GT. The 1968 Ford Torino GT was a car that had it all: style, performance, and just the right amount of muscle. Powered by a 289 cubic inch V8 engine, it delivered 195 horsepower and 288 pound-feet of torque. The Torino GT was no slouch, with a top speed of 112 miles per hour and the ability to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 9.1 seconds. It featured a 3-speed manual transmission and rear-wheel drive, with an average fuel economy of 14.2 miles per gallon. In addition, born from the Fairlane, the Torino was Ford's response to the Pontiac GTO and Plymouth Roadrunner. It came in various body styles, giving buyers plenty of options. The Torino GT had everything if you were into the classic 2-door hardtop, a sleek fastback, or a stylish convertible. The fastback was especially loved by NASCAR drivers, with its sloping roofline and distinct rear taillights. Inside, the Torino GT wasn't just about looks, it was also about comfort. Deep pleated bucket seats, wall-to-wall carpeting, and a simulated wood-grain instrument panel gave the car a touch of luxury. You could even opt for extra features like a 6,000 RPM tachometer, power windows, and an AM/FM stereo with dual speakers. The Torino GT wasn't just another muscle car. It was a complete package, offering performance and luxury in one stunning ride. Number 1. 1967 Shelby Mustang GT500. The 1967 Shelby Mustang GT500 was a legend on wheels, featuring a Cobra Le Mans 428 engine that produced 355 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. This beast could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 6.5 seconds and hit a top speed of 128 miles per hour. With a 3-speed automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, it offered a thrilling ride. Despite its power, the GT500 wasn't too thirsty, offering a fuel economy between 9 and 12 miles per gallon. Well, what made the GT500 stand out wasn't just its performance. It was also incredibly rare. Ford produced only 2,048 of these cars in 1967, and this one is even more special. It's one of only 438 finished in Brittany blue and one of just 348 with its unique trim and color combination. This car's restoration is top-notch, looking as fresh and clean as it did when it rolled off the factory floor. But the Shelby GT500 wasn't all about raw power. Ford also thought about driver comfort. It came with power steering, disc brakes, and extra cooling capacity to keep things running smoothly. Inside, the decor interior offered little luxuries like the courtesy light group. The Shelby Mustang GT500 was a true masterpiece, combining muscle car performance with everyday comfort and style. I hope you enjoyed this ride in one of the greatest Ford muscle cars of all time. Before you leave, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Ford muscle cars are known for their speed and style, but not all hit the mark in the looks department. Some models have left car fans scratching their heads, wondering how they made it to production. Join us as we take a trip into the 12 ugliest Ford muscle cars in history, where you'll discover bizarre designs and questionable choices that make these cars unforgettable for all the wrong reasons, especially number 1 on the list. Number 12. Ford LTD, 1965 to 1986. The LTD officially debuted as a high-end version of the Galaxy 500, a large sedan that prioritized comfort over the muscle car aesthetic. In 1965, it was called the Galaxy 500 LTD, similar to how the Caprice was known as the Impala Caprice. The LTD stood out from other Galaxy models with its fancier trim, more powerful engines, and extra features. But it also came with a higher price tag. Buyers could choose between a 2-door or a 4-door hardtop. The base engine was a 289 with 200 horsepower. Still, customers could also opt for more powerful engines, including 390 with 300 horsepower and even 427 engines with 425 horsepower, available for manual transmission only. In 1966, the LTD became its model, separate from the Galaxy 500. It kept a similar shape but had a new look at the front and back. The design focused on luxury, featuring a soft cloth interior, wood accents, and special seats. Customers could add power windows, air conditioning, and vinyl tops. Beyond this, the launch of the LTD made competitors like Chevrolet, AMC Plymouth, and Dodge step up their game by introducing their luxury models. By 1966, the Galaxy name was dropped from the LTD, which got some exterior updates and optional front disc brakes. In 1967, the LTD added a new 4-door sedan and made several safety updates, including a padded steering wheel and safety belts. The LTD's design changes continued to influence American cars for years. Hold on to your seats. These cars are so ugly, they just might make your eyes water. Even a blind mechanic wouldn't want to fix. Number 11. Ford Mustang SVO, 1984 to 1986. The 1984-1986 Ford Mustang SVO was a particular version designed by Ford's Special Vehicle Operations team during a time of strict fuel regulations. Unlike other Mustangs, the SVO was built to compete with sporty cars like the Toyota Supra and Porsche 944. It had a unique look with a special hood scoop, rectangular headlights, and a rear spoiler. Its turbocharged 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine was the main feature, producing 175 horsepower and 210 lb-ft of torque. This engine was paired with a 5-speed manual transmission, making it powerful yet efficient. Though it offered performance, its design was often less appealing than traditional muscle Mustangs. Additionally, the SVO had improved handling with a better suspension system, including adjustable shocks and anti-roll bars, making it one of the best handling Mustangs. Inside, it offered comfortable bucket seats and complete instrumentation. Despite its strengths, some felt it needed to be more affordable than the Mustang GT, leading to lower sales. Only around 9,800 SVOs were made, proving it was a unique but somewhat underrated model. You see, despite having such a highly ranked engine, this car still didn't produce that much power, which was needed to run in the race. If ugly was horsepower, you'd be the fastest car on the road. Stay with us as I discuss more cars ranked low for various reasons. Number 10. Ford Thunderbird, 1977 to 1981. In 1977, the Ford Thunderbird went through a significant transformation, becoming more minor for the first time in its history. This new, downsized version was built on the Gran Torino Elite platform, making the Thunderbird more affordable and less distinctive. Compared to the earlier models, the 1977 Thunderbird was nearly 10 inches shorter, with a 6.4-inch wheelbase, and it shed up to 900 pounds. Although the starting price dropped to just over $5,000, this reduction in size and cost made the car feel like it had lost some of the elegance and power that had once defined it. One of the most disappointing changes was the removal of the powerful big block engines. The standard engine was now a 130 HP 302 CID V8, while a 135 HP 351 CID V8 was only available in California. Furthermore, there was an option for a 400 CID V8. Still, even that engine saw its horsepower reduced from 173 to 166 by 1978 before it was discontinued. Despite its flashy design and luxury features, the 1977 Thunderbird lacked the strong performance of its earlier versions. Although sales were high, this model carried a different iconic status, signaling a decline in Thunderbird's once proud legacy. In spite of being equipped with so many unique features, this car didn't dominate the battleground. Number 09. 1974. Ford Gran Torino. The 1974 Ford Gran Torino was large and powerful, even when emissions rules limited performance. It was bigger and more luxurious than the Mustang, and the top engine for that year was a massive 7.4-liter V8 engine. A few years earlier, this engine produced over 400 horsepower. Still, by 1974, it was rated at just 220 horsepower, with 355 lb-ft of torque. The Gran Torino was heavy and took about 9.6 seconds to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour, slower than it appeared in movies like Starsky and Hutch. Additionally, the engine was placed at the front, and the car had rear-wheel drive. The Gran Torino was produced from 1972 to 1976, with the 1974 model having 140 horsepower at 3,800 RPM. For 1974, the Torino lineup got some design changes. New government rules required more substantial rear bumpers that could handle impacts up to 5 miles per hour. These bumpers were bigger, square-shaped, and sat lower. The taillights were now wraparound rectangles, eliminating the need for side marker lights. The fuel filler was moved above the bumper, hidden behind a door in the center of the taillight panel. The front of the Gran Torino was also updated with a more prominent grille, divided into 8 sections, a more pointed front bumper, and bumper guards moved to the center. The license plate was relocated to the driver's side. Overall, higher-end models like the Gran Torino Brougham had a reflector panel between the tail lights for a full-width look, and some models even had a stand-up hood ornament, instead of the usual grille emblem. You're the kind of car that makes other cars feel good about themselves. Whatever, these cars are nothing compared to the ones I am about to discuss, making you wonder what the makers thought when they created them. Number 08, Ford Fairlane, 1955 to 1970. The Ford Fairlane was first introduced in 1955, named after Henry Ford's estate, Fairlane, in Dearborn, MI. While it had some similarities to the Chevy Tri-5 models, it eventually became unique. Over its lifespan, the Fairlane went through many changes. Still, the most famous year is 1964, when it got a powerful 427 cubic inch V8 engine, which delivered over 650 horsepower. This version, the Thunderbolt, became a beast on the racetrack, even hitting sub-10-second runs in drag races. However, the Fairlane was only sometimes a standout. The early models were bare and needed more charm than Ford's popular cars. Its size fluctuated, which made it feel inconsistent. Despite the fame of the Thunderbolt, many Fairlanes were underpowered and less stylish than other Fords. Some versions felt bulky and awkward, especially the later models, which grew heavier and less efficient. The Fairlane ended in the 70s, replaced by the Torino, but it remains a part of Ford's history, loved by some but often overshadowed by Ford's more iconic models. Number 07, Ford Maverick, 1970-1977. The Ford Maverick was a compact car made from 1970-1977. Its boxy shape and minimal styling fell flat compared to other muscle cars. It started as a two-door and later added a four-door option, using the same rear-wheel drive design as the 1960 Falcon. The Maverick replaced the Falcon in many places, except in Australia, where the Falcon continued. Unfortunately, the Maverick was also built in Canada, Mexico, Venezuela, and Brazil, but it was considered a failure in Brazil. The name Maverick comes from unbranded cattle, and its logo looks like a longhorn's head. Launched in 1969, the Maverick was meant to compete with Japanese cars, like the Datsun and Toyota. It was sold for a low price of $1,995, but it lacked basic features like a glove compartment until 1973. It had bright paint names like Anti-Establishment and Thanks Vermilion. Now let's talk power. Engine options were trim, starting with a 170 cubic inch straight six. Despite its low price, its rough ride and cheap feel made it less favored, especially compared to other Ford cars like the Mustang. Stay tuned for another few minutes. I'm saying this because, as we go through the list, we'll soon reach number 1, and it will blow your mind, making you wonder why this car even exists. Number 06, Ford Probe, 1988 to 1997. The Ford Probe, first launched in 1988, was based on the Mazda platform and used a 2.2L four-cylinder engine, a sporty coupe that failed to resonate with traditional muscle car fans. It was meant to be a sporty, compact car, but it didn't impress as much as Ford hoped. The Probe came in 3 versions: GL, LX, and GT. The GL was basic with a 110 HP engine, while the LX added more excellent features like power windows, power locks, and an optional V6 engine. Undoubtedly, the GT was the top model, featuring a turbocharged engine with 145 HP and better brakes. However, despite its sporty look, the Probe had flaws. It borrowed parts from other cars, like the RX-7, and had an unreliable automatic transmission. While some liked its sleek design, others found it cheaply made and uncomfortable. Overall, it wasn't one of Ford's best cars. Number 05, Ford Mustang IV, 1979 to 1993. The 1979 Ford Mustang, part of the third generation, brought several engine options, but impressed some 4.9 LV8 was the most powerful, making 139 HP and 250 lb-ft of torque, managing 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 8.3 seconds. Other engines included a weaker 2.3 Li4 with 89 HP and a 2.8 LV6 with 104 HP. There was also a turbo version of the 2.3L engine that produced 130 HP. Midway through 1979, the V6 was swapped for a 3.3L straight 6 that only made 89 HP, which felt underwhelming. There were 2 body styles, coupe and hatchback, and 3 trim levels, base, Ghia, and Cobra. The Cobra had the Turbo 4 engine, and a special Indy 500 Pace Car Edition was offered. While the Mustang kept its sporty image, many felt it lacked natural muscle. The weak engines and confusing variety of choices left some fans disappointed. The lower power output in some versions made it less exciting than previous Mustangs. You look like a Mustang that got lost on its way to being cool. You've gone through the entire list, but now we've our top 2 cars, which have earned the title of the ugliest cars ever made. Let's take a closer look. Number 04, Ford Falcon, 1960-1970. The 1960 Ford Falcon was a simple, compact car, powered by a small 95 HP, 2.4L straight-six engine with a single-barrel carburetor. It featured unibody construction with coil springs in the front, leaf springs in the rear, and drum brakes all around. It could fit 6 passengers, and buyers could choose between a 3-speed manual or a 2-speed automatic. The body style could have been more 4-door sedans, station wagons, and the Ranchero pickup, which shared its platform with the Falcon. While the Falcon was designed to be affordable, its plain design and weak engine made it less appealing. It wasn't inspiring with just basic features, and it felt underpowered compared to other cars. It was also less stylish than its competitors. However, it was cheap, with a starting price under $2,000, and it got about 30 miles per gallon, which was a big selling point at the time. Ford tried to spice things up with later versions, offering sporty convertibles and more powerful V8 engines. But the early Falcon was more of a practical choice than an exciting one. Hey Dad, I know you've been caught up in the features and specs of these cars, but let me tell you, the wait is finally over. We're about to reveal the number 1 car on our list, the one you've been waiting to hear about. Number 03, 1978, Ford Mustang II King Cobra. The 1978 Ford Mustang II King Cobra was part of a challenging time for American performance cars. After 1971, most high-performance models, including the Mustang, lost much power. Though it's technically a pony car, many performance versions brought it into the muscle car world. The Mustang II was created when people wanted more fuel-efficient cars. Lee Iacocca, the man behind the smaller Mustang, did his best with the situation. The Mustang II's performance was weak, even with the top model's 4.9-liter V8 engine, which only made 142 horsepower. The King Cobra version, introduced in 1978, wasn't insignificant, taking 10.5 seconds to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour. Despite this, over 1 million Mustang IIs were sold between 1974 and 1978, and it even won Motor Trend's Car of the Year in 1974. Moreover, the King Cobra stood out for its sporty looks, but the engine could have been better than other Mustang II models. It used a 302 cubic inch, 5-liter V8 that made just 139 horsepower due to strict emissions rules. 1978 was the last year for the Mustang II before Ford introduced the third-generation Mustang in 1979, which returned the Mustang to its high-performance roots. You're the Mustang that forgot how to be a Mustang. I mean, looking at you, I can see why horses run faster to get away. Number 02, Ford Focus RS, 2016 to 2018. The Ford Focus RS has a strong reputation for thrilling driving experiences, and the engineers outdid themselves with this model. Its offbeat looks can be polarizing among muscle car enthusiasts. It's the first high-performance Ford with four-wheel drive since the famous Escort RS Cosworth. Unlike its predecessor's old system, the Focus RS uses advanced technology. Its unique rear drive unit can send up to 70% of the engine's power to the back wheels, allowing up to 100 of that to go to one rear wheel, giving it excellent stability and agility. The steering is quick and responsive with good feedback, but Ford replaced the Focus ST's variable steering with a fixed setup for better consistency. You can switch between normal, sport, drift, and track driving modes. The car grips well in corners, but the four-wheel drive system truly shines, sending power to the outer rear wheel to help turn. However, sometimes it makes a difference, giving a different thrill than traditional rear-wheel drive. The ride can also be firm, making the car bumpy on rough roads. The Focus RS has a turbocharged 2.3-liter engine, offering 345 horsepower. While it's fast, hitting 0 to 62 miles per hour in 4.7 seconds. Our tests showed it took around 5 seconds. It's powerful and sounds great, with pops and crackles when you lift off the gas. But the ride quality and some features can leave you wanting more. Despite its flaws, the Monza Mirage remains an exciting part of car history. Like this, many more cars on the list had unique designs and features, but only a few specs bent their backbone. So here I have a question to Ford Focus. Were you designed in the dark or just built as a prank? Number 1. Ford Mustang Mach-E 2024. The 2024 Ford Mustang Mach-E crossover shares the Mustang name, but focuses more on family-friendly features than the sporty side of the classic Mustang. Despite being a fast and stylish electric car, it could be better. The Select trim is more affordable, while the Premium offers more features, and the GT brings power. It can drive over 250 miles on a charge, with the GT model going from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3.7 seconds. Pretty fast, though not as fast as the gas-powered Mustang Shelby GT500. Moreover, the Mach-E has a nice interior with modern tech, but it could be more cutting-edge than competitors like the Hyundai Ioniq 5. The new Rally trim for 2024 adds off-road features and a slight range boost, but it still struggles in charging speed compared to rivals. Some find the button-operated doors awkward, and their heavy reliance on touchscreen controls less intuitive. While quicker charging and more efficient motors are better options, there are still better options in Ford's lineup. Even with the Tesla supercharger network available soon, it's not enough to hide its flaws. Though it has some excellent features such as an extended range of 372 miles and a stylish 15.5-inch touchscreen, it also has some downsides. The storage space is lacking and the air vents in the back seat must be well, which annoys passengers. The seats are too soft and might not offer enough support on long drives. And there you have it. If you're passionate about learning more about cars, then there is an amazing video recently uploaded on the channel. Click the link at the top right corner of your screen. Thanks for watching. But before you put down your phone, please like and subscribe to the channel.